Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm gonna go over updates in nuclear tech mod like the new pollution system which can cause visible smog if the levels are high enough, fluid pressurizers splitting the power grid into equal parts using capacitors, new mobs like the Glyphids, and yeah, some small changes and updates. So without any further ado, let's get straight into this video. I'm gonna start this video with compressors. So compressor is made in an assembly machine using the following recipe, nothing too expensive so you can craft it early on. And once placed, the compressor is going to look something like this. So if we go into the GUI of the compressor, then here we have different options for fluids. So you can compress fluids from 0 to 1 pressure unit, 1 to 2, all the way up to 5 pressure units. Fluid can be selected using the fluid identifiers, and there are upgrade slots for speed and power saving. So here I have a simple setup for compressing normal steam all the way to ultra dense steam in 3 stages like it is done normally. So here's an infinite barrel of steam, and if I start supplying this steam, the first compressor will start working, and all of the dense steam from this one is going to end up in the second compressor. Now once the second compressor has gathered enough dense steam, which is 1000 millibuckets, then it is going to compress it into super dense steam, which will end up in the third compressor. So here's a perfect ratio. If you place a level 3 speed upgrade in the first compressor, then the first and the second compressor will keep on working continuously. However, this dense steam, when converted into super dense steam, will take a long time to basically get converted into ultra dense steam. The efficiency of this whole process is pretty bad, so don't use it, use boilers instead. And each compressor when working will consume 50,000 HE per second. Even with speed upgrades, the consumption is the same, which I think will be changed in the future. Right now, I think it's bugged or something like that. But yeah, for now, 50,000 HE per second or for every operation. So that's compressor. Now, before moving on with like another use for the compressor, here are some fluid valves. So here's the redstone fluid valve, which should be named normal, and the normal fluid valve should be named the redstone one. So yeah, I guess the names are interchanged in this version. But for now, only the redstone fluid valve, the original one basically, is working because it can be set to any fluid. The normal fluid valve can't be set to any fluid using the identifier. And the valve, as with the redstone switch, works by flipping on the lever, and here as you can see, once the valve is activated, then it will allow fluid to flow through it. And if you close the valve using a redstone signal, then no flow will occur. So this is pretty cool. Now coming to the compressor, we are going to compress crude oil to 2 pressure units using 2 compressors like this. So the first one will compress it to 1 pressure unit, the second one from 1 to 2 pressure units. And this crude oil will end up in a vacuum refinery, because now the vacuum refinery, in order to process crude oil, requires it to be pumped at 2 pressure units. So that's both the compressors working, and if we set these compressors to max speed using the speed 3 upgrades, then they are going to work at 2000 millibuckets per second, which is exactly the amount that the vacuum refinery needs. So yeah, that's the vacuum refinery in action. Alright, so that's it for all of the compressor systems. Next up we have pollution. So the pollution can be detected using the pollution detector, and it can spread within chunks. So every machine which burns like flammables, so diesel, kerosene, leaded gasoline, or even coal for that matter, will produce pollution. So as you can see right now, this diesel generator is actually increasing the amount of soot present in this chunk. To get rid of the soot, we are going to use exhaust pipes, and this exhaust pipe is then gonna go into a smokestack. So the crafting recipe for the smokestack is not actually very expensive. It's crafted using bricks and steel plates, if I remember correctly. But yeah, now that I have all 5 of the diesel generators running, you will see that the soot level is not increasing. Actually, it's decreasing. So that's why like using the exhaust pipes and smokestack is pretty important. Another thing, that pollution not only comes in the form of soot but also heavy metal, which will cause the lead poisoning. So here I'm going to burn leaded gasoline, which is going to increase the heavy metal in atmosphere, and it's going to cause some lead poisoning if the levels get high enough. But if you start venting it using the smokestack, then this level will not increase. So that's the pollution system, one thing which has once again changed the game drastically. Next up, we have capacitors. So this is the normal capacitor, the first one, which is the copper capacitor. All of the other ones, there are total 4 levels, can be crafted in an increasing order by changing a few blocks. And finally, we have the capacitor bus, which is crafted using industrial grade coppers and insulators. So the capacitor bus is first of all needed to use the capacitors. It is placed with one output, and the input of the capacitor goes on any side basically, but the output of the capacitor is actually on the bottom side and the input is on the top side. So for input you can actually have cables, or you can even use them without cables, but just to show you the transfer rate, I'm going to use infinite batteries. So copper capacitors can transfer 20 MHz per second. The golden one can transfer 100 MHz per second, the niobium 500 MHz per second, and finally for the fourth level we have tantalum, which can transfer over 2 GHz per second. But the main use of capacitor is to split the power grid. So capacitors are always in input output mode. Now if they have nowhere to output, then it will fill their internal buffer, but as long as they have an output, their internal buffers will not be full. So here, for example, I'm going to use two capacitors and split the power grid or a power line into two equal parts. So let's say that I have a constant supply or constant power production of 200,000 HE per second. So this is going to get split into two equal parts using two capacitors into 100,000 HE per second each. Now this can be scaled according to your needs. So here I am going to scale it down and have 4 lines of 50,000 each from 200. Also, these can be compounded or basically combined. So here I am going to add another capacitor bus, make sure that the output are in the same direction. And now if I place down an energy block, this one is going to receive 100, while the rest are going to receive 50 and 50. So still this is divided into 4 parts, but we have merged 2 parts. So here I am going to split 200,000 HE per second into 10 parts, but these 10 parts are gonna get divided into 20, 40, 60 and 80. So basically that is how you can make a power grid like setup by splitting the power line into different parts according to your needs. That power grid can actually look something like this. So I have divided this time the power grid into 4 equal parts, and the pylons, they can be where the connection goes far away from your base. And yeah, here we have 200,000 HE per second, once again divided into small parts. Next up, we have some new artillery shells. So the first one is the chlorine gas artillery shell, and on impact, well, it spreads chlorine gas, and yeah, it lingers around for some time and then it goes away naturally. So that's the gas artillery shell of the chlorine type. Another one that we have is the mustard gas. So now if you remember, the chlorine one was, or basically didn't spread this much. Mustard gas however spreads pretty far away, and also it kind of lingers around for a little bit more compared to the chlorine one. And the death due to mustard gas is also slow compared to chlorine. So yeah, fun for the whole family, I guess. That's the gas artillery shells. Next up, we have some rockets from the rocket launcher. This one is the lava variant, which on the point of impact will create a lot of volcanic lava and also convert some of the wooden blocks into their charred variants, kind of like the tectonic missile. Next up, reinforced glass, the reinforced laminate glass, and also the pane variant of that. Both of these have a blast resistance of 600. So that's the reinforced glass and the glass panes. And next up we have the Euphemium capacitor. So if you remember, the Sherbidium transmutation device, it uses the red coil capacitor. Now after every operation, the red coil capacitor loses one durability, and after 10 operations, it loses all durabilities. Then it has to be discharged manually like this. The Euphemium capacitor will basically never lose durability. So you can have automated Sherbidium production. So that's the Euphemium capacitor. Next up we have Desh variants for the bullet stamps. So large, small, 357, 44, all of the bullet stamps are basically now available in Desh variants. So basically they won't lose durability like ever. Next, the sliding blast door, a good one from the 1.12.2. It responds to its own signal like this, so has pretty cool animations and sound, and it also has like in total 3 skins. So this is the default skin, then we have the skin variant 1, which can be crafted like in a crafting table. It's a shapeless crafting recipe, and applying it is also pretty simple like this. So yeah, this is the variant 1, and here we have the variant 2, which looks something like this. And finally back to default, which I think is the best out of them all. So yeah, that's the sliding blast door. And finally we come to Glyphids. So Glyphids are new hostile mobs added. If I just turn my game mode from peaceful to easy, these are Glyphids, and the pink structure that you are seeing here is their nest. So Glyphids will spawn from the centermost block of this nest, and if you are in range, then yeah, they will try to attack you. Now there are multiple types of Glyphids. Some of them have ranged attacks, some of them explode, even cause nuclear explosions sometimes. And yeah, this yellow one, as you can see here, is going to perform some ranged attacks like this. So in order to destroy this nest, you have to get rid of the centermost block, because that is where like all of the Glyphids spawn from. But this like isn't the easiest task if you are not wearing any armor or something like that, because these guys spawn like at a pretty fast rate. So instead, using explosives is your best bet. So you can use grenades from far away. Here are all of the different types of Glyphids: Bombardier, the Brawler, normal Glyphids, the Scout, and on their skin is a representation kind of their armor. So as you can see, once I damage them, they lose some of their armor, and once they lose all 5 pieces of armor, they will die. So yeah, that is basically how you know how weak or strong a Glyphid is. So yeah, if you have MC Heli installed in your mod pack, then using vehicles which have explosive bullets is kinda the best way to get rid of these nests from far away without using grenades from nuclear tech mod. Or you can even use helicopters, because none of the Glyphids can actually fly, so it's the best. Like you can perform an air raid on an entire nest of Glyphids. So I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. If you did, please do smash that like button, and also subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And if you have any suggestions for me, leave them in the comment section down below. Peace out and stay safe, guys.